Hi everyone, today we're going to do a bit of a lesson on drawing lines. Now, some people would say that drawing lines is pretty easy and pretty basic, but as an artist, we can't underestimate just how important it is to know how to draw lots of different types of lines in lots of different ways. And in fact, in lots of the artworks that I've done, I've used lines in lots of different ways to give different effects. It's very, very cool to use lines in different ways. So, here are some cool lines that you can practice and even try and improve your line drawing skills. So the first line, of course, I'm going to show you is the easiest one of all, and it's a straight line. It goes like this. But just using my ruler, that's a straight line. Okay, the next line I'm going to show you is what I like to call dashes. And dashes are just like a straight line, except this one has little gaps in it, like this. Very easy. That's what we call dashes. My next line is another line like a straight line and a bit like dashes, but this time I'm just going to use dots. It goes like this. Another very easy line to draw. My next line, I like to call this hills. And hills goes up, and down, like this. The trick here is to try and keep it really consistent, so all the hills are the same size and the same space apart. The next line I'm going to show you is what I call zigzags. Zigzags, a bit like hills, but this time we only use straight lines and corners, like this. Again, zigzags is nice and easy, but the trick is to try and keep each line the same length and each zigzag the same space apart. Okay, my next line, I like to call this one clouds or bumps, and it looks like this. You can also do reverse ones like this. Another cool line technique. And my next line, I like to call this one castles, because it looks a bit like the top of a castle wall, and it goes like this. The trick to this one is also keeping each line the same length and consistently the same distance apart. Okay, a new page. For my next line, I like to call this one loops. Loops can be a little bit tricky, but it goes like this. We can also do reverse loops like this. For my next line, I like to call this, some call it mouse ears, I like to call it jigsaw puzzles. It goes a bit like this. It looks a little bit like the inside of a jigsaw puzzle. For my next line, this is a combination of some little patterns, and I'm going to use it to make a line. And this one's called swirls. It goes like this. Okay, my next line's a little bit tricky, but this can be really handy if we're using themes that relate to the beach, because it's called waves, and it goes like this. That's waves. Okay, my next line technique is a little bit like zigzag, but this time I'm going to make sure all my lines are different lengths and at a different angle, and this one's called lightning. It goes like this. That one's nice and easy. It's a hard one to get wrong. And my last line, I like to call this one shapes. And it's just a line made up of different shapes. And you can be as creative and different as you like. I'm going to go for circles and squares. And so on. So there's some good basic lines to get you started. Now, this is where it gets really clever, because we can combine some of our lines to make them even more exciting and creative. Okay, so let's have a look at what happens if we combine some of these lines together. So I'm going to try something like maybe castle, dots, maybe even clouds. Okay, let's try another one. How about this time we go for hills and maybe even zigzags and maybe even dots. Okay, this time I'm going to go for something like zigzags and maybe even circles or dots and maybe even shapes. There you go, there's another creative line that can be used to decorate your work. It's great for making borders, it's just great for making patterns. And it's really easy to do and really fun to do at home as well. And you can get more creative with different types of lines, combinations of lines, and then even start thinking about putting in some different colors. But practice your lines and have some fun.